Playing the role of Tony Russo. How's it going? Good to see you. Ah, very nice. Sorry, brother. Are you having a good time? I am. Good. I'm glad you're still in the game. Hey, guys. Good afternoon. First of all, the Republican caucuses in both houses are perfectly willing to work with the governor and the Democrats to bring about real change in New Jersey. The reality is the governor was talking some pie-in-the-sky things today. Property taxes are still the highest in the nation. And our whole tax burden on our society is pretty much miserable. We've offered plans that would index the tax brackets for inflation to help middle-class taxpayers with real sustainable tax relief. Collects money from 9 million people, and they hand out anchor checks to 1 million, 1.3 million, and that's like we pick and choose who gets money back. Their programs are not A, sustainable, and they're not B, something that's really going to help everyone in the state of New Jersey. He's talking about AI, and we can't even get unemployment checks out of the Labor Department when people are unemployed. Which, by the way, unemployment is on the rise in New Jersey. We can't get MVC to do what it needs to do with its computer systems. So he's talking way down the road, things that sound great. They're helping a lot of big stock market names right now with AI, but we have fundamental basic things and needs in New Jersey that aren't being met because we're not taking care of the basics here. He did talk about New York people moving into New Jersey, some 20,000 people, but in 20 and 21. During that very same time, we had a net loss of people in New Jersey of 25, almost 26,000 people. So people are leaving, and then some are backfilling. The reality is, why are people leaving? It's too expensive to live here. We invest $225,000, maybe more, in a student to go through now pre-K, 3-year-old, all the way up to a senior in high school. They go away to college. They land in North Carolina. They can find a job with businesses that are here and in North Carolina. The cost of living is so much less, we lose that investment. That best in the nation education that we offer in New Jersey, and we lose that investment to North Carolina or another state that's it's less expensive to live in. So we really need to take a look at how much money we're spending. We spend too much. We went up $20 billion in 6 years. God knows where we'll be in this cycle. Cost of living has risen more than the minimum wage can keep up with, for God's sakes. So what have we gained for those? What have those people really gained? They're just trapped in this revolving door that hangs on to them. So again, the governor talks a good game, but there's things fundamental things, changes that need to be made in New Jersey that aren't happening. And we can't even, if we have unemployment claims, we can't get checks out the door. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the budget officer from the Senate. Senate former. Declan Scanlon.
Thanks, John. Hey, guys. Look, let's talk about the relative value, the things that the governor talked about today. And look, this is Republicans being the loyal, but civil, decent, and vociferous opposition that we need to be, and this state needs. So the governor talked about affordability. So New Jersey is the single most unaffordable state in the nation. Now, if we improve on that marginally, I guess you could pound your chest and say that's a wonderful thing. But our affordability situation still sucks. We are still the highest tax state in the nation. He talked about tax cuts. Our property taxes are still the highest in the nation. I met with a batch of business owners not long ago. They are in the hospitality industry. Some of them have their investments and their whole operations are oriented to New Jersey. Okay, and they're treading water. Every single one of them, it was half the ones that I was with, so it's probably 10, who had the ability to invest and open businesses, were doing it in other states, were doing exactly that. They were choosing not to invest here in New Jersey. And that's because our tax burden is still the highest in the nation, and the hurdles we put in front of businesses are still the highest in the nation. The governor talked about the rebate program. Okay, so we're going to do rebates. We've all seen the rebate programs in the past. They come, they go with the whims of the economy. We aren't doing real tax reform that's long lasting. The governor talked about folks moving into New Jersey. Let's talk about the out-migration, inward migration fallacy that the governor likes to focus on. You could have 50,000 additional people move into New Jersey who are, median income people. You lose one multimillionaire and the taxes on everybody go up. We are losing the critical people that we need, that are the backbone of the income of this state. When you lose people that are making 25 or 35 or 50 million, and those people have no incentive to stay here. Again, the governor talked about cutting taxes. We still have the highest tax rates in the nation, and we incentivize these people to take their earnings and go other places. We don't want to go on too long here. We want to make this conversational, so we want to hear from you guys as well. But the biggest thing that I want to hit on is the squandered opportunity that we have. The governor is very optimistic today about New Jersey's future. He said New Jersey is the most improved state from a business perspective in the nation. Well, let's look at it this way. If you're a kid and you get a 15% average on your math tests out of 100, and you get suddenly 30%, you've improved dramatically, probably more than any other kid in the class. You're still getting a D. New Jersey's fiscal future is in peril. If we don't have dead canaries in the coal mine, we have canaries that are basking for air. That are gasping for air. We squandered the last 7 years to get our fiscal house in order. The governor himself, he failed to mention it today, but has started to mention it, and Democrats have started to mention it, our huge fiscal cliff that we're heading towards. Our budget deficit, our structural deficit, is the same or greater than it was 7 years ago. We've been able to coast for this past 7 years on federal largesse, billions and billions of dollars that will go away soon. Billions of borrowed dollars, more than any other state, I think more than all other states combined in borrowed dollars, pandemic borrowing. It's outrageous that will have to be paid back. And we will end up, once this money is all gone, the borrowed money and the federal money, we will end up in a hole deeper than we were before. And we'll be back to doing our best to try to fund our pensions. And I'm very happy that we're making our pension payments now, but we're not making them with sustainable dollars. So all of that having been said, we are hopeful for New Jersey. We're hopeful that Republicans will be at the table and that our friends on the other side of the aisle will begin to see the sanity and the fiscal reality that we have been pitching and continue to pitch going forward. Thank you.
David.
So, you guys every year talk about how expensive it is to live in New Jersey. And the Democrats say, hey, you get bang for your buck. You may have to pay $5 for a latte, but you're not in poor in Iowa, for instance, right? So what's the Republican alternative to what the governor's been doing?
Well,
where are your cuts?
Republicans have put, and you can go right to the Senate Republican website, we put out the most comprehensive plans. You and I have talked about them. I can go through them line by line if everybody wants to be here for 2 hours, but you don't, because we got a state of emergency that the state police are going to come in and arrest us all for breaking in a minute. But Republicans put out tremendously comprehensive plans over and over and over again that have been roundly ignored by Democrats. Why? Because they can get away with another year of doing nothing, kicking the can down the road. That's what's happened. This isn't fiscal sanity. This isn't sound long-term planning. Republicans have been absolutely transparent about our positions. We would have returned more of this money to people. We would still have had a healthy deficit. We would not. There's billions of dollars in this budget that you could cut between the last minute extra billion two that Democrats inserted in just last year's budget. Wipe it all out and start from scratch. There's probably within the school aid that the governor likes to talk about, the greatest amount of school aid in the history of the state. Yet fully half districts were either cut or didn't get increases that kept up with inflation last year, while at the same time the other half, a significant portion of them, were getting money that they have no idea how to spend. Had you been smart over this last 7 years, you could probably trim $1 billion from school aid, and it would never have been noticed, and our fiscal situation would have been better. Just a few specifics.
You know, David, there's also the cost that is we bear from regulatory problems in New Jersey. For God's sakes, DOT has problems with DEP to get road projects and bridges done. I mean, that goes through all of the private sector as well. Just yesterday, just last night, there was a bill passed that adds putting sprinkler systems in with townhomes that have a 2-hour assembly at each unit on each side. So it's one unit. That's as more effective than it's been ever in our history. It's going to add like $15,000 to the cost of a house. The cost of housing in New Jersey right now is almost unattainable. That's another reason for the brain drain that we have. We have our kids that go to school here. Still can't even buy a house. We have townhomes in our town out in Warren County that are selling for the high 400s. Now, what kid coming out of college is going to be able to spend $500,000 on a townhome?
You want to live in Warren County for $400,000 when you can live in Monmouth County for $800,000. It's still a better bargain.
But the point is, they think they're adding all these great ideas, great things. When you have the separation walls there, it contains the fire. With the smoke detectors we have, you can barely burn toast without setting them off, and you're out of there. So it sounds good, trying to be perfect, but these costs these gets layered and layered and layered, and now housing eventually will be so affordable. It already is.
I hear
You can't commit.
that you're down with the affordable housing reforms that the Democrats have put up.
Why it went away? They pulled the bill.
There are none.
But the governor today said he endorses that bill.
Well, listen, when you go to those ratios from 20% to 40%, it's going to be not profitable to build anything in New Jersey to carry the load of those affordable units on the backs of 60% of the people who are going to buy market rate. The market rate will be too high. They'll price themselves out of the market. It just will compound the problem. I know. I came up in the construction industry. I've built homes. You know, you can't add costs, and then when you say, okay, 40% of your costs of your house is going to be spread somewhere else, it's not sustainable. It's not doable.
The governor, could you guys comment on, during his speech, the governor mentioned that small business is one of the backbone components of New Jersey and how important it is, and that the state of New Jersey has invested nearly $1 billion to help small business. What is your assessment of small business right now, and would you do anything different than what the governor has done over the last several years?
Well, you need to look no further than the proposals of Senate and Assembly Republicans with our pandemic relief money. The governor was referencing pandemic relief money. And by the way, we were joined with Democrats too. Senator Vin Gopal joined me in a couple of bills that would have given double or triple that amount. And by the way, we had tens of billions, or more than 10 billion in pandemic relief aid. A lot more of that should have gone into small businesses quicker. A lot more of it and quicker should have happened. So the governor mentioned that we have had a number of small businesses open. Well, of course we have, because we decimated small businesses needlessly under the governor's policies for several years longer than we needed to with the pandemic restrictions. And our failure to get pandemic relief aid out to them quick enough to save them. I mean, tens of thousands of them died needlessly, and God knows hundreds of thousands of jobs. So it's back to my analogy before. You improve from a really bad position to a mediocre one. I guess you could take credit for that. But what you should have done when you had the resources was to go from bad to good. No, I say that is not something to brag about. That's something to apologize for.
Yeah, so the governor mentioned abortion access. He obviously thinks that this is a winning political message. How do Republicans plan to address that, especially given the diminished Republican caucus and the fact that abortion rights do appear to be popular in New Jersey?
We have abortion rights in New Jersey. If you look at it, I mean, they passed the bill, it stands. We're more interested in the pocketbook issues that affect the people who live in New Jersey. The people who are struggling every day. Inflation has gone up faster than their income has gone up. You go to the grocery store, for God's sakes, and I see this at our own house. Come back with a couple of bags of groceries, it could be $150, $200. That's what we're concerned with. We're concerned with people's survival. The abortion issue is a non-issue in New Jersey, frankly. There's legislation in place, law in place, not to mention the state Supreme Court ruling from 1982, which in its own way was a Roe v. Wade for New Jersey. There is no problem with access to abortion in the state of New Jersey. That's something they make up to scare their voters into coming out and voting. We are worried about the ability for families to put enough food on the table, afford a vehicle that they can get to work with, make a fair living, keeps enough money to have a good lifestyle here so they don't keep leaving us. That's what our concerns are.
And just real quick on that. Abortion is, and not attacking my reporter friend for this, but it's an absolute garbage red herring issue in New Jersey at this point. Abortion rights, whether anyone likes it or not, are enshrined in our Constitution to a level found nowhere else in the country. You can elect the most hardcore conservatives to the legislature in New Jersey to every seat. They can't do anything unless the Constitution is changed, which means a vote of the people. So, and in New Jersey, that ain't going to happen. So it's an absolute red herring issue. It's almost impossible to change access to abortion here legislatively.
Are you talking about that in terms of the Supreme Court decision
Yes.
from the 8th? Okay.
They enshrine that in our Constitution through that. And again, whether you like it or not, it is reality. They enshrined those rights, a high level of right and accessibility. We've seen previous legislatures trying to do simple changes that people might agree on, and the Supreme Court has struck them down.
I would hope that the Democrats would join us in going to really focus on issues that matter to people in the state of New Jersey for their economic survival and their jobs. Unemployment is going up. Costs are skyrocketing. Taxes are too high. Spending is way too high. More money needs to be left in the pockets of ordinary working New Jerseyans so we can keep the real economy afloat in New Jersey. This issue they bring up, we don't, because there's nothing that can be done about it. We all have our personal feelings on the matter, but the truth is, in New Jersey, it is the law. As the senator said, it's in the Constitution. We're focused on people's survival and affordability and things that really matter in New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm curious what you guys made of the proposal to allow 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds to vote in school board elections.
But they can't smoke until they're 21. I mean, the reality is we had student government when I was in school. If you wanted to get into that whole political thing, you ran for student government. 18 is the age of majority in this country, and I know that my mindset was much different at 16 than it was at 18 as a young person. When does it end? You get to 16, is you going to 14? I mean, the reality is the age of majority is what it is, and that should be the age that we're allowed to vote. It's the age we can go off to war. It's the age that we're adults. And we can't keep changing that. That's not doing anything. It's not going to, just because somebody votes one time doesn't mean they're going to vote the next year. We have voters that only vote once every 4 years. They vote in presidential and they don't vote for 4 years. So that argument is totally off the mark.
I would echo that. This gets to the some is good, more is better philosophy of our friends on the other side of the aisle. If cutting some trees to make a fire break is good to stop forest fires, cutting all the trees down will eliminate forest fires. That's kind of how they operate. Give me a break. 16-year-olds are not equipped, and I have great respect for 16-year-olds, but it just, they're not ready to make these decisions. They are not taxpayers as well. So it's just, again, it's an applause line with no
Is
credibility.
there no benefit to it, or the
Well, like,
Democrats just trying to get more voters? Is that-
yeah, that's exactly it. Look, it's clear when the old saying, if you're when you're very young, if you're not a Democrat, you have no heart. If you're not, when you get a little older, a Republican, you have no brain. I absolutely abide by that. So yes, that overwhelming majority of those young people will be Democrat votes, and you can bet your butt if it were the other way around, they would not be calling for this. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a great night. Be safe driving home. I'm leaving now.